I maybe give a little preview yesterday by posting it into a channel. But I'm playing with and haven't turned it on everywhere yet. But this is a test instance that I have deployed something that has backend requery enabled. It's a little bit hard to tell for sure, but here you can load this. I don't know if you can see all this, but I have a sort of my Chrome extension that I have running that tells me that this hit the exact match cache. I can resort this. It tells me that it did a front end requery. Now I can refresh the page and it says it did a backend requery. And then of course, if I, want to do other things, maybe pivot in here, it's going to use the backend requery for all of these queries because it doesn't actually have on the front end now the original data. It only has the requery data that's available. But theoretically, we could do something that it would allow for the front end and back end requeries to be requeried themselves. And that would sort of allow for basically it all to happen front end again.
Will the backend requery be able to feed the front end requery? Just that, but
yes, it doesn't currently.
no, I'm just saying
what I
like
was describing there.
is that a future state that we will be in?
Yeah, like I'm not sure necessarily. Like there are some odd implications of some of that stuff, which I want to be a little bit careful of. Um, but yeah, it definitely makes our lives a little bit easier if we, or rather, our servers' lives a little bit easier if they don't have to do the work. But yeah, it's pretty quick.
I
Um,
asked I asked this on GitHub. Can you actually turn off the front end requery on Sandbox just so we can see exactly what the back end requery feels like as the only caching layer?
I mean,
this is what it is.
should we just stick with the URL? Like, what's the point of seeing that, right? Like, we're not gonna have that ever. So,
I mean, this is what it's doing.
Yeah, but it
This is
just
all
helps
backend
us. It
requery.
helps us understand the yield that we get out of the back end thing, like from a
Dude.
performance. Like the way I would explain it is, back end query doesn't than the database, then it's not really a priority to do much with. If it feels closer to the front end requery experience, then we want to invest a lot of time there. And if we make it difficult to test the difference and feel it, then we're just going to be in an ambiguous state a little bit.
I mean, this is all backend requery.
And what is the database look like?
This isn't coming from exact.
This is all hitting the backend cache. I don't even think I have this query loaded anywhere. So just with the processing in this, it's actually doing a backend requery on the data that has created that quarter in here. So this might hit the exact cache. So this hit the exact cache. But by removing this column, now every single query I'm running is hitting the backend requery stuff.
Okay.
Against this. Now I could go and run this without cache. Maybe I'm not.
Tab.
I may need to fix that. No, it's hitting the backend requery. It's because I haven't quite hooked up all of the pieces yet. But it seems to be ignoring that field. But you basically have the ability to go do a bunch of these things. So maybe if I add, I think I've already done this with with weak. So front end requery. Okay, something's funky here. I haven't tested this part yet. But
filter to one status, and it'll do probably.
Well, you still have the flag in your URL. So
no, it seems to be sometimes ignoring that flag. And it's something I actually wanted to talk to you a little bit with, Stephen, is like how to prioritize in some way, shape, or form the front end requery when we can do both the front end and back end. It's probably just ignoring this right now based off of how I'm doing some things. But
makes sense.
Can we do mixed caching layers stuff too? Like if we're doing a join from like a backend query and some of the data is stored in the front end, or is that complicated kind of planning not possible yet?
Sure, why not? I mean,
but no.
Yeah, we can't do it today. But like theoretically, we could send down a payload that we have. Well, I guess we'd probably have to do it all in one location. At least without like significantly more work, but we could do something like take a query result that we have on the front end, take a query result that we have on the back end, send one of them down to the front end, and then do the entire requery on top of both of those in the front end, or something to that
Like
tune.
most of the time, the thing on the front end will be in the back end, and so like if you're talking like 50 milliseconds of latency or something, like why should we might not want to do lift heaven and earth to right
Yep.
like
That makes sense. I was thinking more for like the CSV upload use case, although it's fine if it's on the back end too. We may actually be, depending on how we're running on the back end, Johnny, we might be able to use MotherDuck or just DuckDB too, and be able to actually query CSVs directly from the back end requeryable sort of layer and specify them as a data source now too, and effectively get CSV, not upload, but CSV query for very cheap.
I don't think we want to do CSV query until we can merge it with other stuff.
I think
It
we
just
can
like
merge it in
introduces
the
a
requeryable layer already.
yeah, but they just said that we can't do
So
that.
No,
the
they
way
said
I
they
want
can't do it from the front end to the requeryable layer.
so the thing that I want to do here is basically let you upload a CSV. We do whatever we want with it. Maybe we shove it into Arrow, maybe not. But you upload a CSV, and it's just another query result that you can then use. Maybe it's one that is told like you actually have to use this one, as opposed to as something that you can use, which is how we're doing all of this requery stuff right now. So that's kind of how I like. That's kind of how I anticipate using some sort of CSV upload in this sort of a fashion.